Welcome to our cooking series, Jabba Kweda. Wache, Ani, Bojo, Nimki Benishi and Dao, Megaze Dodem, Natalie and Dejnakash, Mishkego Junjua. I am Thunderbird. My English name is Natalie. I come from the Eagle Clan, and I'm from Moose Cree First Nation, which is a moose factory. I work at Laurentian University in the Indigenous Sharing and Learning Center. I am the Indigenous Community Outreach and Liaison Coordinator. My primary role is doing Indigenous recruitment. I also am involved in a whole bunch of different projects, one of them being our cooking series, Jabba Kweda. Before we get into our measurements and adding everything together, I'm going to get you guys to preheat your oven to 400 degrees. That's 200 Celsius. For this particular recipe, our Mooz balls, we are going to have 20 minutes prep time, 20 minutes cook time, and you guessed it, a total of 40 minutes. It'll serve about 4 people, and each of those people will have about 12 meatballs to enjoy. You're going to need 2 bowls, one for your dry ingredients, one for your wet. So we're going to start off placing all our dry ingredients together. If you're going to be using a ½ pound of moose meat, the ingredients are going to be ½ a tablespoon of sea salt, 1 small onion diced, ½ a teaspoon of minced garlic, or you can use garlic salt, 1½ tablespoons of Italian seasoning, 3/4 of a teaspoon of dried oregano. I'm personally not a fan of oregano, so I did not use that in my moose meatballs. I am a fan of the spice though, so I put 3/4 of a teaspoon of crushed red pepper flakes. And as I said, I like the spice, so a dash of Frank's Red Hot sauce, 1½ tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. You have no idea how long it took me to say that properly. 1/3 cup of skimmed milk, 1/4 cup of grated Parmesan cheese, and a ½ cup of seasoned breadcrumbs. If you really want to res it out though, you can put the rippled barbecue chips instead of the breadcrumbs. Gives that extra crunch. I didn't use it on our video, but I do that a lot at home. In a smaller bowl, we're gonna add our wet ingredients, which is gonna be our milk, our Parmesan cheese. Once we mix all that together with our egg, we mix it all in the one big bowl. And the last thing that you're going to throw into this is your breadcrumbs or your rippled barbecue chips. You're going to oil down your pan a little bit just so they don't stick. And we're gonna cook them for about 20 to 25 minutes. Halfway through that time, I'm gonna get you to flip them, roll them, shake them, just get them to move around in your pan a little bit so they don't cook all on one side. At about the 18-minute mark, because everybody's oven's different, I'm gonna get you to just cut into one. If it's no longer pink in the center, they're ready to pop in your mouth. Some people might ask, what makes the moose meatballs Indigenous? Me and my partner, Adam Ozamic, harvested our moose at the back of Massey last fall. This is the last of our moose meat, so I thought I would share it with the Indigenous Sharing and Learning Center. We did our hunting in a good way. We prayed, we put our tobacco down. We also put the tobacco on our moose or a mooz when we harvested his body. The best part about me and my partner Adam harvesting this moose was that after we loaded it up into his truck, we went to a Kong and his whole family helped in harvesting the meat. So we did all of our butchering ourselves, and it really had that sense of community and brought our family together, which was great. My partner's daughter, Maya, also came out and she learned how to properly skin and clean meat, which is a very important part of our culture. The moose meat itself is a medicine. I think a lot of people forget that. We're also ingesting the medicines that the moose eats as well. So we're ingesting some of that cedar, the willow, the aspen, the balsam fir trees. These are all medicines that we use in our culture, and we're ingesting what our moose is ingesting too. So it's medicine all around. I hope you enjoyed my moose meatballs. Miigwech.
Oni bojo, Kichawasan Longos Kwa Indigenous Cause, Nikikino Nipsing Noj Baminwan Swakamakanaya, Nishnabekwa and Dao. Hello, my name is Amy Commanda. My spirit name is Distant Star Woman. I am part of the Nipissing community, and I'm currently living in the Greater Sudbury area. I am part of the Anishinaabe, and I'm also a hand drummer and a mother to an 8-year-old daughter. And I am an alumna of the Indigenous Studies program at the University of Sudbury here. I am the ISLC Events and Media Coordinator here at Indigenous Student Affairs, which means that I mainly facilitate most of the events, workshops, and activities, and I also manage our social media. I collaborate with a lot of my fellow staff, as well as staff and faculty in other departments, on events such as these in order to promote awareness of Indigenous culture and issues, as well as support our student population. The recipe that I'm going to be sharing with you today is the wild rice kale salad. I really enjoy making this salad because it incorporates a few of our traditional cultural foods, such as wild rice, blueberries, and even cranberries. What you'll need for this recipe is 3/4 cups of blueberries, 1/2 cup dried cranberries, 1 cup wild rice, 4 cups water, 1/8 cup of sliced almonds, 1/8 cup crushed walnuts, organic kale, chopped, 1 tablespoon green onions diced, and arugula, which is optional. For the dressing, you'll need 2 teaspoons of Dijon mustard, 4 tablespoons of balsamic vinegar, 6 tablespoons of maple syrup, 2 tablespoons of olive oil, 1/4 teaspoon sea salt. What you'll do first is you'll rinse the wild rice with cold water and then combine the wild rice with your 4 cups of water. You'll bring that to a boil, cover it, and simmer for at least 45 minutes or until most of the rice has curled open. You'll then cool the rice and combine it with the rest of the ingredients as well as the dressing. And this will serve about 4 to 6 people. Wild rice, or mnomen, meaning the good berry, is also referred to as northern wild rice. It is high in protein and dietary fiber and is not actually a rice, but a grain, and it grows in shallow water in small lakes and streams. The Indigenous people in the Great Lakes region continue to harvest wild rice traditionally by slowly canoeing around the plants and gently threshing the mature seeds or grains into the canoe. Wild rice is considered a very important and sacred food and is part of the migration story where the Anishinaabe were given a vision to head west to a place where the food grows on the water. Blueberries, or minan, is another important cultural food that the Indigenous peoples gathered for themselves. The leaves of the blueberry can also be made into a tea after a frost happens, when they start to show a red tinge. Indigenous peoples knew that blueberries were good for their health, as they are full of antioxidants, among other berries, such as the cranberry or muskegon, also known as the swamp or marshberry. Cranberries are used to help preserve foods, such as pemmican, which is a dried meat like wild game or fish, and was made because it lasted a long time and could be used through extensive and prolonged travel. It was also an important trade item for the Métis people. There is an Iroquois legend about the sap of the maple and how Wuxis, the Iroquois chief, first tasted it as a sweet syrup because he had an ingenious wife. Wuxis was going hunting one day early in March. He yanked his tomahawk from the tree where he had hurled it the night before and went off for the day. The weather turned warm and the gash in the tree, a maple, dripped sap into a vessel that happened to stand close to the trunk. Wuxis' wife, toward evening, needed water in which to boil their dinner. She saw the trough full of sap and thought that would save her a trip to get water. She was a careful woman and didn't like to waste anything. She tasted it and found it good, a little sweet, but not too bad. So she used it for cooking water. Wuxis, when he came home from hunting, scented the maple aroma, and from far off knew that something especially good was stewing. The wood had boiled down to syrup, which sweetened their meal with maple. According to this legend, this was how the harvesting and boiling of maple sap was begun. Well, I hope you enjoyed this recipe as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. Miigwech.
My name is Emilie Bourgeois-Tassé. I am the Special Projects Officer in the Office of Academic and Indigenous Programs. I'm responsible for events like Indigenous Education Week, the RBC Gendaswin Trail Speaker Series, SAGE, GUI, and many other special projects as they come about. All right, so today I'm going to show you how to make a Three Sisters salad. For the salad, you need the Three Sisters, which are corn, beans, and squash. We call it a Three Sister salad because these three plants grow in a complementary way. The corn grows tall and gives structure for the beans to grow. The beans climb the corn and bring nitrogen into the soil for the corn and also for the gourds. So in this case, we're using zucchini, but you could be using squash or any other plant from that family. This squash plant at the bottom actually gives ground cover for weeds and pests. So these three plants grow nicely together and work as three sisters. Let's get started. So as I said, we have three sisters. So here we're using canned corn. This is a peaches and cream variety. We're using a 6-bean medley in this case. You can use any bean you like. A cranberry bean would be traditional. And in this case, we're using zucchini, green, small cubes. So you could use cooked gourd as well. I'm choosing to add some cherry tomatoes, which we've sliced in half. And we will be adding garlic, in this case, 3 cloves. You could also add any kind of herbs that you enjoy, and green onions go nicely in this as well. So once we have the ingredients, we're going to mix those up, make sure that they're all incorporated, and then we're going to get started on the dressing. So in this case, I'm choosing to incorporate all elements into the bowl instead of in a container. This first is a 1/4 cup of honey, raw honey. We could be using maple syrup or agave syrup if you like. I'm going to add a 1/4 cup of extra virgin olive oil right into the bowl. You could use canola or corn. And you need vinegar. So we're going to use balsamic vinegar in this case. Apple cider vinegar goes nicely in this recipe as well. You can use white vinegar as well. So once we have these, we will incorporate thoroughly. So you want to make sure that you're mixing all those ingredients and that everything is covered in that dressing. The salad likes to marinate for a little bit. So this is your initial mix, and you'll be mixing and adding salt and pepper. Freshly ground pepper to your preference. And finally, freshly ground Himalayan rock salt to your preference. Once you've assembled all your ingredients, mix it together again and have your first taste. Add more salt, pepper, sweetness, or vinegar, depending on what your preference is. Feel free to adapt this recipe and switch up some of the ingredients for gourds or the different types of beans. Have fun. And this is your Three Sisters salad.
So that wraps up the first of our cooking series, Jibakwe Da. We hope that you enjoyed yourself, that you learned a little bit. This was our first time doing a cooking series like this, and we really enjoyed ourselves, and we also learned a lot. And we hope you have the opportunity in the future to come visit us in the Indigenous Sharing and Learning Center. Thank you, Miigwech.